It's a place that breathes life into ideas, a network for the creative thinkers, entrepreneurs, and pioneers of tomorrow. Is it any wonder that sitting at its center is a university whose sole purpose is helping people discover theirs? We're Texas. What starts here changes the world.
At the University of Texas at Austin for 30-plus years, the IC² Institute has been the mighty confluence of academia, government, and business.
We'd like to bring together people from...
Dr. John Sibley Butler is the director of the IC² Institute, director of the Herb Kelleher Center for Entrepreneurship, and is the Sam Barshop Centennial Fellow at the IC² Institute.
We see ourselves, as the University of Texas does, as a partnership with the people of Texas and this region. And of course, now that the American dream is a global dream, it is a partnership with global aspirations also.
The mission of the IC² Institute, which stands for innovation, creativity, and capital, is simple yet profound: to combine technology, entrepreneurship, and education to improve the world via wealth creation and prosperity sharing. Dr. William Cunningham is former Chancellor of the University of Texas System, former President of UT Austin, former Dean of the Graduate School of Business, and holds the Gregory A. Kosmetsky Centennial Fellowship at IC² Institute.
I believe IC² is central to the development of the University of Texas. Universities need institutes like IC² that can bring people together from across the campus.
Dr. Juan Sanchez is the Vice President of Research at the University of Texas at Austin.
Since its beginning 30 years ago, IC² was a grand experiment at the University of Texas. I personally will declare that the experiment has been very successful. IC² has really played a key role in transforming the university and the city of Austin. It's been a key element in nurturing the entrepreneurial spirit that you see in our faculty, in our students, and in the community.
If you hosted a meeting of the minds, a place where the right-brain dreamers inspired the left-brain doers, where would you gather?
In 1977, the IC² Institute began as city leaders were initiating a strategy to create a technopolis, competing with Boston and San Jose by attracting high-tech companies such as Tracor, Texas Instruments, IBM, Motorola, and Advanced Micro Devices.
We began 25 years ago in to get major branch plants of key companies like IBM and Texas Instruments and 3M and Advanced Micro Devices and Motorola. In the early 80s, we began to get not only branch manufacturing operations, but also research and development facilities, again for 3M. Both Sematech and MCC, two national consortia, chose Austin as their U.S. headquarters and do major research here today. We saw the research arm of the University of Texas grow substantially.
We looked around at the resources locally and we realized you've got really smart people coming out of our university and education system. We had lots of research going on here, but it wasn't being commercialized in any way. We lacked infrastructure to build businesses, yet by nature, Texans were entrepreneurial. Look at the oil and gas industry itself. And so as a consequence, we felt we had to put a technopolis or a technology-based city together.
As an emerging high-tech center, Austin became the home for numerous successful technology startups, most prominently Dell Computer.
The environment in Austin, I think, is conducive to companies like Dell growing. easy access to the university and the graduates every year. I mean, that's just a natural resource.
In its humble beginning, located at the UT Graduate School of Business, under the leadership of its founder, Dr. George Kosmetsky, Dean of the UT Graduate School of Business, the main focus of the IC² Institute was the study of capitalism.
When you don't have a body of knowledge and when you don't have theory, how do you educate people?
In the early years, that research involved the BBR, the Bureau of Business Research, founded in 1926, and the work of multidisciplinary IC² Institute research fellows and visiting scholars. Dr. Robert A. Peterson is the Deputy Director of the IC² Institute, Associate Vice President of Research for the University of Texas at Austin, and holds the IC² Institute Charles E. Hurwitz Centennial Fellowship.
The Institute basically is a catalyst. It is a catalyst for knowledge creation, going beyond the typical institute that you would find in a university or even in the public sector or the private sector. I can't emphasize too much how unique the IC² Institute is as an entity.
Tim Ruffley is founding Associate Director of the IC² Institute and holds the Frank C. Irwin Jr. Centennial Fellowship.
It offers a community of people who have similar interests.
This gentleman, Alexander Hamilton, did it. Think about this. 200 years ago, this man understood if you didn't have value added, if you didn't sell products, you didn't have wealth. It's
inquisitive, refusing to be tied to the traditional academic boundaries, wanting to do something that has impact in the real world, a place where we can rub up against that real world.
With the ongoing completion and publication of broad-ranging research, the UT Board of Regents came to Dr. George Kosmetsky, its founder, with a challenge. They told him,
IC² done a marvelous job. It's published 60% of all the literature on how to commercialize science and technology. But what are you doing about it?
How the IC² Institute responded was by forming the Austin Software Council, the Capital Network, and ATI, the Austin Technology Incubator.
The notion was that we ran on a shoestring, and it was its goal was to provide the infrastructure and services to small fledgling startup companies that would allow them, just like an incubator with a baby, allow them a better survival rate.
So ATI has had a significant impact since it was first established in 1989. In terms of the metrics that we use to measure ourselves, ATI has worked with over 150 teams of entrepreneurs who are building technology-based businesses. Those teams of entrepreneurs have raised over $750 million in investor capital. We've had 4 IPOs, over 25 significant acquisitions. The companies that are still in operation are generating about $1.5 billion in top line today. And the City of Austin gives ATI member companies credit for having created over 10,000 jobs. In addition, the other part of our impact is the impact that we've had on the University of Texas community. For example, last semester we had 112 students from the University of Texas working with ATI member and pipeline companies.
From ATI grew the Masters of Science program for science and technology commercialization.
Remember that the Institute was never created just to do the egghead research. It was based on thinking and doing.
Throughout the years, the IC² Institute has continued to expand its local, national, and international influence through its numerous endeavors. Dr. David Gibson is Associate Director of the IC² Institute and is the Nadia Kosmetsky Scott Centennial Fellow.
Economic development using science and technology as a resource for wealth creation and shared prosperity You know, that vision was in place 30 years ago, and now, you know, it's all over the globe, and from developed nations to developing nations, these ideas are taking hold, and I think that's one reason why IC² has so many global activities now.
In efforts to embrace the IC² Institute's expansion, the Austin Technology Incubator, in recent years, has focused on having a catalyzing impact in specific economic sectors: clean energy, wireless and information technologies.
But we do have the capabilities to work with faculty to make their innovations more commercializable and make those commercialized innovations potentially more successful in the marketplace. It is important for us to not lose sight of ATI's role as a teaching laboratory for graduate students and undergraduates at the University of Texas. And my aspiration is to make those opportunities available to a wider spectrum of students from schools such as law and communications, which we traditionally have underserved at ATI, and to continue to drive in engineering and business, which is the core of the ATI value proposition.
IC² has been really the catalyst for all of the development of these emerging technology companies that have not only changed Austin, but are changing the world as a result.
By proclamation, the Austin City Council has recognized the IC² Institute's Master of Science program in Science and Technology Commercialization for its success.
The City of Austin understands the impact of the Institute over the years. It understands what our graduates have done and what essentially they will do. And more importantly for the university and the faculty and the students is a recognition of their excellence, something that we at the University of Texas always engage in, as we say, what starts here changes the world.
They're all interested in one thing that brings them together in this particular program, and that is how to take discoveries in the science and technology domain and take them to market. And that, of course, is a great thrill for faculty members to contribute to that process.
It teaches the basic rules, fundamentals, principles, and disciplines that should be a common across the planet. And I believe this is very important for shared prosperity. As the technology progress, the world is becoming flat. And I believe this is an important program that many students from many nations that can benefit from.
Also forging ahead with the IC² Institute family are the Digital Media Collaboratory and the Global Commercialization Program.
We have two purposes. One is to transfer the knowledge and the practices we've developed, so they have these countries have a sustainable mechanism to go beyond the program, and then to look at real business value and helping new ventures grow and prosper and create jobs and wealth for their regions.
Since its inception, the IC² Institute has succeeded due to the groundbreaking work performed by its 200+ research fellows from 18 countries, of which 2 are Nobel laureates.
Never is a problem of education was so important as it is now, because you have now to judge information and disinformation, and that is very difficult. So you have to have a really global knowledge which permits you to choose what is going on.
In conferences held around the world, fellows address what are termed unstructured problems, complex issues where there is no clear framework for resolution.
They're all generated, first of all, by an endowed IC² fellow. And they bring to the table an unstructured problem that we need to look at. It is what IC² was founded upon, and we continue to do that.
Dr. David J. Eaton is a professor of natural resource policy studies at the LBJ School of Public Affairs and holds the IC² Institute Jack S. Blanton Endowed Research Fellowship. On the international border of Texas and Mexico, the IC² Institute has tackled the controversial issue of water rights.
We were then able to expand that work to look at Israeli-Palestinian joint groundwater issues, and we've had a number of fellows who have been affiliated with IC² and have been working on this for the last several years. And now we're continuing that work in India, looking at the Indus River.
Integral to the mission of the IC² Institute and its success is also the ongoing contribution of its visiting scholars and researchers.
Some of these visiting scholars are on sabbatical from universities. Others are on sabbatical or leave from their companies. All of them are there to learn about the Institute, to work with other visiting scholars, with the researchers, with the various components of the Institute, and take that knowledge that they gain back to their home countries and utilize it for the same purposes that the Institute exists, that is, wealth creation.
For 30 years, the IC² Institute has developed as a leader and innovator in the field of wealth creation through technology commercialization, contributing to the vibrancy and impact of the University of Texas at Austin through its faculty and students on the city, the state of Texas, America, and the world. Rick Perry is the governor of the state of Texas and a recipient of the Laura J. Kilcrease Civic Entrepreneur Award.
Today, Texas is becoming a world leader in technology research and development and commercialization, and thousands of jobs are being created statewide because of the work that this organization is doing.
The IC² Institute has been a catalyst for change in Texas for almost 30 years now, as we know, and I want to thank you for your efforts to improve and expand the economy of what I think is the best state in the country.
At the IC² Institute, the future knows no limit.
I would envision that the Institute, through its work in different countries, will actually have siblings.
In the words of Dr. George Kosmetsky, America's strength has always been its ability to be scientifically creative, technologically adept, managerially innovative, and entrepreneurially daring.
In this 30th anniversary, is very appropriate for me to congratulate everyone at IC² for the work they've done, for the work they're doing at this particular point in time, and no doubt for the work they will do in the future.